Hey guys, and welcome back to what is another Lost Bits video right here on TetraBitGaming, the series where we explore some scrapped, unused, and unseen content in video games. At the turn of the millennia, Nintendo released Mario Party 2, the sequel to the already super popular first Mario Party game. Mario Party 2 featured new and revamped minigames, new boards, and more Nintendo charm than you can shake a stick at. I mean, what other games have thwomps and womps riding hover cars in space? Like seriously, we've regressed from cool boards like these to, square. Anyways, without further ado, go grab your cowboy outfit. It is time to find some lost bits. Alright, so first things first, I just gotta go ahead and mention that several of the unused things in Mario Party 2 are the same or very similar to the ones I mentioned in my Mario Party 1 Lost Bits video. One of these being the unused No Game mode. Again, this is an unused mode that you can access with the use of a Game Shark. In this mode, regardless of which space the character lands on, their player panel will turn into an also unseen yellow color. What changes here is that at the end of the turn, no minigame will be played. I'm guessing this mode was intended to be included if players just wanted to play the board game aspect of the game without any minigames. I'm guessing this was probably scrapped because A, I don't know why someone would want to do that, and B, without someone getting 10 coins at the end of a turn, getting coins for stars and items would take much longer and would slow the pace of the game too much. How this unused mode differs in this game compared to Mario Party 1 is that it doesn't actually have the unused graphics saying no game like the first one does. And also the game doesn't stop on the last turn. So even if the game is set to only 20 turns, the game will keep going to turn 21, turn 22, and so on. The next unused thing that makes a return from the first Mario Party game is the debug menu, which even uses the same background images as before. Again, the reason that the DK image is still a silhouette with a question mark is because the background is believed to have been made very early in Mario Party 1's development, and that there might have been some legal complications in using Rareware's Donkey Kong Country design of Donkey Kong at the time. Since the debug menu is pretty much the same, it is likely that the development team used the same debug routines, which makes sense as the games are still very similar to one another. Anyways, this list not only contains all of the minigames that you can play in the game, but also shortcuts to various cutscenes, boards, the game's credits, and more. Just like in the first Mario Party game, all of the minigames are written in transliterated Japanese. So if you don't speak Japanese and read English, it's hard to really tell which game is which. In any case, it's a neat little way to just play some minigames if you haven't unlocked them yet. This debug menu also lets you set up the different players however you want. So what I decided to do was set each player to be controlled by the same controller input as I wanted to see how the game would handle this. Since each player has the exact same input, in theory each minigame should be a draw, right? Nope. Another oddity was that for some reason when doing this and playing the speed hockey minigame, the game gets confused and all 4 players will start on the same team, and the other team's paddle will just be stuck in the middle. Furthermore, if you win the game, even though it only says you and your partner have won, the players that aren't mentioned on the other team will also react as if they have won as well. And if you lose, which was really hard to do, the game gets even more confused and will say that the winner of the minigame is whichever player you chose twice. And then it crashes. One final interesting thing about the debug menu is that since the menu will load a random song, a short, unused song can be heard sometimes. And this song is just 2 notes. Now it's hard to say for sure what it might have been used for, but my best guess is that maybe it was a sound effect in the intro cutscene or credits or something. Alright, now let's move on to some unused things that are new to the series. First, we have an unused animation test mode that can be accessed either from the debug menu or via another Game Shark code. This mode lets you view the player models for Mario, Luigi, Wario, Peach, Yoshi, and DK, as well as basically all of their animations seen in the game. You can also switch between their normal clothes and their Western, pirate, and space costumes. Additionally, you can also change the polygon count in the model to see them in their low poly forms. Check out this goof. There was also one animation that caught my attention in particular. This one leaves most of the characters' heads the same size, but shrinks down their bodies, making some of the characters, particularly Wario, look pretty ridiculous. I mean, look at that tiny torso. It took me a while to figure where these were used, but the next few animations make it pretty clear that they are from the Sneak and Snore minigame, in which your character is in a barrel and has to sneak around a chain chomp. I suppose it's a pretty interesting way the developers decided to squeeze the models into the barrels. Most of these animations are really cool to see. I mean, I feel like you could make a music video with them. Golly gee, I love Mario Party 2. It's such a nice, charming, family-friendly— oh god. Oh. Ooh. Oh! Next up is an unused version of one of my favorite minigames, Shell Shocked. The only difference here is that this version gives each player 4 lives instead of just 2 like in the final game. Whether this version was the intended original or an option the player could select remains unclear, but I assume the developers thought that this game would last too long with 4 lives and would result in a draw more often than not. Still, I think it would have been pretty cool to have this mode without the timer when just playing this minigame for fun. Okay, now let's move on to some unused graphics and items. First up is a leftover unused graphic of Bomberman, which is for some reason found with the graphics for the minigame Roll Call. Hudson Soft, the company that developed Mario Party 2, had also developed several Bomberman games in the past, and I'm guessing this asset was just likely from one of those games as a placeholder in the early development of Mario Party 2, and they simply just neglected to remove it. Also left over in the game from early development is an early version of the Japanese logo for the game, which uses a similar font style to that of the English title, and a pretty basic looking number 2. Both of these were majorly changed for a more stylized version in Japan, and I gotta say it looks much better in the final game. Next is an odd, large sprite of Mario in his Western land attire. It is about twice as large as any other player sprite in the game, and it is the only one of its size in the files. And I honestly have no idea what its purpose could be. Lastly is a really interesting item that was scrapped from the game. Graphics and text for this here item named Picker can be found left over in the game's files. As the name of the item kind of implies, the Picker item would let the player pick the next minigame if they used the item during their turn. Now, if you got to pick any minigame or just from the roulette list that we normally see is still a mystery, but either way this item would have been awesome. It looks like Mario Party 2 also had some minigames that were scrapped. You might have noticed that in the debug menu before, there were several numbers that were blank. I'm guessing all of them are minigames that were scrapped, but so far only proof for 6 of them have been found. And unfortunately, unlike in Mario Party 1, where some of the scrapped minigames were still playable, in this game all that remains is unused text that would have appeared before starting the game. Not as amazing, but it still gives us an idea of what the games were going to be. These texts can only really be accessed in the Japanese version of the game, as trying to access them in the North American version will simply just cause the game to crash. Anyways, the first scrapped minigame was known as Waku Waku Amido Dokkan, which apparently translates to Exciting Pipe Lottery. Based on the rules, it was likely going to be very similar to the Pipe Maze minigame from Mario Party 1, but would implement some sort of trophies. As expected, it looks like whichever player ended up with the best trophy would win. Next up is a minigame that was known as Lucky Coin Grab. The rules would say, coins will fall from the sky, quickly gather them before they disappear. It was apparently a 1 versus 3 minigame in which the 3 players would catch coins while riding on some sort of gem. Based on its description, most believe that it would have been really similar to Coin Shower Flower from Mario Party 1. Next is Tug-O-War, which would have been an altered 2 versus 2 version from the first game. However, this time instead of tearing up your palm from rotating the control stick, A and B would be pressed as specified instead. The description for this game sounds really similar to the Looney Lumberjacks minigame seen in the final game, so perhaps the idea for Tug-O-War was just simply repurposed for that one. Similarly, the next scrapped minigame, Rapid Rafting, would be really similar to Paddle Battle from Mario Party 1, but would again forego the control stick rotating in favor of pressing buttons. Just like in Mario Party 1, if the player would get too close to the edge, Shy Guys would attack them with spears. Instead of just surviving to the finish, however, each player would have 3 lives and the game would last until the last player is left standing. The next scrapped minigame was going to be known as Note Steps, and its description leads me to believe that it was either a newer version of musical mushrooms from Mario Party 1, or it's what eventually was turned into Dizzy Dancing, as both of them feature things mentioned in the description. And lastly, unchanged from Mario Party 1, it seems that Treasure Divers was also slated to make a return. It seems to have been meant to be exactly the same from the original, so nothing really of interest here. Alright, and for the last stop of this video, I tried to move the camera around to see if I could find some interesting unseen stuff. Much like most other Nintendo 64 games, this game also suffers from a really finicky camera, so unfortunately I wasn't able to explore as easily as I would have liked. Anyways, first off, just like in Mario Party 1, this game uses a lot of static background images and simply overlays some 3D models over top. So basically, each board and most minigames is just a static background with the players and spaces overlaid. Unfortunately, this makes most minigames not that interesting to move the camera in. And the ones that might have been interesting were severely limited due to culling or whatever this was. So after playing through most of the minigames, really the only interesting thing that I could find was that in this minigame, even after the player loses, they will still just keep running off screen. And we can also see how the surviving players teleport to the back of the line as well. At the main menu of the game, we can also see that Professor Fungi and his unnamed assistant can still be found chilling off screen. And from their room, we can also see that the pipe model that you use to enter the game is still loaded off screen, just waiting to pop out. But perhaps the strangest thing is that after selecting which board theme you want to play on, Toad will actually clone himself as he changes outfits, and the one from before is still loaded behind where the camera would normally be. Great, just what we need, more Toads. Anyways guys, on that note concludes this Lost Bits video on Mario Party 2, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to check out more of my Lost Bits by clicking on the card right here, and also let me know what other games you'd like to see on Lost Bits next. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and check out my other social media pages as well, which will all be linked in the description below. And as always guys, thank you all so much for watching today and for all of your amazing support, and I will see you in a bit.